Let's get started, shall we?
Absolutely. Well, welcome everyone. Thanks for being here. I'm your host, Thep. Most of you here know me, I think. And I have our co founder of Step, George, here with us. Welcome, George, once again.
GM, thanks for having me, Thep.
Of course. In this chat, we'll be recapping Step's experience at Breakpoint. We'll also be discussing the recent chaotic events, market events, and talking about how Step is positioned going forward. And also my favorite, we will be talking about Solana Crossroads. So George, to get started, I would love to hear about your Breakpoint experience. Tell us about the vibes for those poor souls like mine who couldn't make it there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my voice might sound a little bit different today because unfortunately I caught a fever or something. I'm pretty sure everyone did at the conference. It's one of those things. But that just shows you that there was a ton of people there, right? So
Right.
anyway, Solana Breakpoint, it's the once in a year Solana conference that for the last 2 years has been held in Lisbon. And essentially, it's a place for the entire ecosystem to go to, whether it's DeFi, NFTs, whatever else is going on in the world of Solana, and everyone to meet up, hang out, discuss over a couple of days. There's often always a hacker house as well. So in a couple of weeks ago, there was the Lisbon Hacker House, which went for something like 4 days, I think, and then you get straight into the actual conference. And this year it was huge. There was, I
Yeah.
think it was like multiples of last year. Last year they had, I think, 2 venues. This year they had 4 venues, and at each of these venues there was maybe at least 1,000 people, maybe more, at some of them.
Wow.
So yeah, like big numbers, right? And I think that's great because it really shows you that the community's growing. There's a lot of people that are excited and engaged and doing stuff, and yeah, and that was even just the people that could make it there. There were tons of people which couldn't get visas for Europe and whatever else, and that kind of sucks as well. So this was only just sort of, I guess, one indication of what was going on in the Solana ecosystem, but
Right.
yeah, like it was a huge conference, a lot of things going on, and the cool thing with Step is we got to meet many of our awesome partners.
That's right. And your overall impression is that this was, much bigger than any previous breakpoints, right?
Yeah, well, there's only like I've been to a lot of crypto conferences over the years, and certainly last year's Breakpoint, this was maybe 2x that. And last year's Breakpoint was at the peak of the bull run. Sol was $260,
Yeah.
and all of that sort of stuff, right? But this year it was sort of in the depths of the bear market, and yet it was still 2x more people there. So that was really cool to see. That was, if you're looking for indicators and metrics to go by, like that's definitely a very important one. Um, and yeah, so the number of people is one thing. I think the number of projects there, and what people were talking about is another interesting thing. I mentioned before there was the Hacker House. I think that was a good example of, well, A, it was pretty much standing room only. B, just a lot of cool builders that are doing stuff. I think there was also a games day as well, which was pretty cool, and that was packed out as well. And yeah, a lot of sort of gaming stuff happening on the Solana blockchain, which makes sense. So it was really cool to see all of that as well.
That's right. Like you said, the last breakpoint was the top of the market, and this one had to mark a local top too, which we saw recently. So let's talk about the recent events. As an OG, what similarities do you see with the FTX's collapse and any other exchange collapse in the past? Maybe you can enlighten those who were not here during the previous events by telling us how they went down versus the FTX.
Yeah, well, I guess this whole sort of market turmoil is quite a downer from having such a really good positive experience there. Like we got to meet everyone in Solana. We got to do some really cool things, and in fact, there'll be some more stuff coming out from us in terms of content. that we were doing there at the conference. So we went away from the conference being like, oh wow, everything's doing really well. Everyone's super pumped. Awesome times, right? And then literally the next day later, the world blew up. So yeah, look, I think firstly what we saw, right, was this whole argument between CZ and Sam online and blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
I think everyone knows most of the broad strokes of the history so far, but essentially FTX was forced to essentially close down, shut withdrawals, and then people started investigating, like, why did that happen? Turns out everyone thought, oh, they're missing $1 billion. Wow, that's bad. Then it was 2 billion. Then it was 4 billion.
Yeah.
Then it was 8 billion. Now it's like 10 billion or something. And there's, now they've filed for bankruptcy, and just all sorts of like insane stuff going on there. They were literally just taking customer money, stealing it, basically buying stadiums, buying each other houses, just absolutely like just egregious stuff. Just
Mm-hmm.
just disgraceful, essentially. And yeah, look, we've seen this kind of thing happen before, unfortunately, this year as well. Like, we've seen centralized things blow up, whether it was Celsius beforehand, or what happened with 3AC, which was maybe precipitated by Luna as well. Maybe that was sort of the domino that started a lot of this stuff. But ultimately, what it came down to was these centralized institutions that were like relying on people trusting them. And often, like, why did people invest in FTX at a $35 billion valuation? Firstly, it seems like many people didn't do their due diligence. Secondly, it seemed that Sam had a backdoor accounting program which literally fudged the numbers and changed it for auditors whenever they would go and ask. So, like, on the one hand, clearly need to be doing better due diligence if you're an investor and wanting to fund these kind of criminal organizations. Unfortunately, it's what it turns out to be in hindsight. But on the other hand, like, it's often hard to tell, because if they're using, like, for starters, FTX was licensed everywhere, right? So people go, oh, it's crypto's unregulated. No, FTX had licenses all over the US. With FTX US, it had licenses in Europe, it had licenses in Asia, in the Middle East, like all over the place. So it's hard to say that, this is unregulated. So then it's like, well, who was doing the auditing and accounting? Turns out they didn't have an accountant. And the auditors was, with this Sam backdoor, where he was just like changing the numbers to make it, look like something that they wanted to do. So yeah, it's difficult. So I guess what the moral of the story of this, or all of this, is that just don't use centralized exchanges, and have to trust other people with your money. Like, that's kind of been the core ethos of crypto for so long, right? Like, not your keys, not your coins. So I think maybe this is causing a bit of a reset, and people have to go back to basics perhaps a little bit.
Right. Sometimes things happen for a reason, and this could be the reasoning behind this one. Do you think we're going to learn our lesson as a crypto space, or no?
Probably not. But you mentioned before, like, about MT Gox and what happened there. Look, a very similar situation. I was around in the MT Gox days. MT Gox was back in 2014. It was the largest exchange in the world. It had 80 to 85% of all trading volume, but across the whole ecosystem, and it blew up as well. Turns out that there was malfeasance going on there as well. People couldn't get their money out. The money wasn't there. All this sorts of stuff. So people are still trying to get their Bitcoin now out of that. So 8 years later, through all of these different legal proceedings and blah blah blah, Mt. Gox was based in Japan, and people are still trying to get their coins out. I guess maybe the difference this time is FTX, like, it just doesn't have the money, and then after earlier this week, like, all of the reserves were quote unquote hacked. So then they were just moved. So, okay, like, now there's no reserves to anyone to claim for the next 8 years. So what are you going to do? Like, yeah. So I don't know. Like, you know what, though? I think one of the silver linings was that we had a big NFT boom in the last year or so, right? And that brought so many new people into crypto. And all of these NFT people are using self custody, Web3 wallets. They're
Mhm.
using decentralized marketplaces. So, they don't even have the concept of having their NFTs on an exchange because that's
Yeah.
just lame. They're all using OpenSea and Magic Eden and stuff like that, which I guess, a lot of people have fortunately been able to sidestep a lot of sort of the carnage. But of course, a lot of people haven't as well. So, but maybe that's a silver lining in that at least a lot of the newcomers to crypto didn't get massively burned this time round, as opposed to like everyone using centralized exchanges and buying coins and so on.
Right. So I guess this begs the question of talking about Step's position right now after all these events that took place. A lot of Step followers came forward and asked about Step's treasury and whether or not Step took a hit during this event. Step's treasury was not on FTX, nor was it ever trusted with any centralized party, like you said. We're big on DeFi. Would you want to expand on that one?
Yeah, so I made a post last week when all of this went out with our position. Essentially, our runway's at least 6 years at the moment, and that was sort of some back of the napkin calculations which I did. We did take a hit, unfortunately, just like everyone, pretty much just from number go down though. We had some Sol and stuff like that in Treasury, but the majority of everything's all in USDC and USDT. So we're quite happy with that. So like on the one hand, like I think we're doing okay. We're good. On the other hand, it sucks for the whole ecosystem, right? Like I know a lot of people aren't doing so good, and a lot of projects maybe lost a lot of money, or they had money on FTX for part of their treasury or their salary payments or whatever it might be. So that's a bad thing I think for the ecosystem. And what's going to be the solution to that? Well, I mean, I don't think the money's going to come back, unfortunately, to a lot of those people. So, yeah,
Mhm.
it's a kind of crappy situation. But I guess all we can do is we can just say, look, we're here for the long term. A lot of us in the team have seen many cycles. We've seen many moons, so
Yeah,
we'll be around again. But I think the main important thing for us is just to keep building and keep building like useful things which people want to use. If you do that, it'll be fine. So yeah, that's just our goal is to just focus on that and yeah, keep providing value.
that's right. I mean, aside from the financial aspect of things that are going on in all this chaos, Step is still moving full steam ahead. So, just to recap, what are your thoughts on Solana as a whole after this big event? As a lot of people, connecting Solana with FTX's collapse, and also the state of Solana DeFi in general.
Yeah, I mean that's a great question, right? Like, unfortunately, a lot of people think that FTX equals Solana and that they're like tied at the hip. The reality is that FTX hasn't done anything with Solana for about a year.
Yep.
SBF's not tweeted about it. The Serum team was kind of a spin out from the FTX offices, and there was maybe some other projects as well that came out of that. But all of those projects have maybe just one person with them doing stuff and have for like the last year. So like they haven't actually been contributing or doing anything in the Solana ecosystem. The I guess the main contention that people have with what the connection between FTX or Alameda and Solana as well is that just
Mhm.
Alameda owns a lot of Sol, or at least they did. I don't know if they still do. Who knows, right? But yeah, so that's sort of the only connection at the moment, and it's not even really that much, of their balance sheet as well. So ultimately, uh, even through this association that FTX equals Solana, people have been punishing Sol. So the Sol price number go down, and it's been going down more than other ecosystems. And I think it's just by that guilt by association. But you know what? I made some posts before that it's poison leaving the system, and I think that for a lot of Solana's life, unfortunately, certainly online, some people have characterized it as, oh, it's the VC chain or it's the it's related to FTX or SAM or something. Well, clearly that's not the case anymore, right?
Yeah.
The reality was it wasn't. But even if you thought it was, like, it's not the case anymore. So I think it's actually good for the long-term growth, because as we saw at Breakpoint, literally thousands of people building stuff, continuing to grow all over the world. And the Breakpoint conference was just before a whole bunch of other crypto conferences as well. There was an Ethereum one. I'm pretty sure there was a Near one. Like, the Breakpoint was like 2-3x the size of the Ethereum one in the same place. The Near one, who even knows, probably like 5x or, a lot more. But the numbers of people building on the blockchain is great to see. That's really what you want to see with an L1. You want to actually see an ecosystem developing and people building stuff. If it's just a dead zone and it's full of tumbleweeds rolling across a desert, like, that's not a good place to be for an L1. So if Solana was in the position where, like, no one was building any apps, there was no hacker houses, there was no, teams building stuff every month and launching new things, if there was none of that, it would be bad. But it's actually the opposite in Solana. So, look, I think it's an unfortunate couple of weeks, but it's probably for the long term, it's going to be for the best. For Solana to shed that sort of association with FTX, whatever it might be, or Alameda, and it'll just get better from there on in. So, yeah, look, I think from what we left off at the end of Breakpoint, hugely bullish on everything that's going on in the ecosystem. Tons of people doing stuff. So yeah, I have no concerns with what's happening with Solana or anything through this. Even Solana themselves, Solana Labs, like, they're continuing to do more stuff. They have more events coming up. They have a hacker house coming up soon in Istanbul in February, and a whole bunch of other things. So they're continuing to get the job done, which is great to see.
That's right. You said Istanbul, so it reminds me of something that we want to and need to talk about. Let's get into the biggest event of 2023, Solana Crossroads. Can you tell us about what our audience and steppers or Solana people can expect?
Yeah, totally. So, probably, well, we've been talking about this for months, but I guess sort of the idea came out that the Solana ecosystem is really big. I've already spoken about that, right? All of these different people doing stuff. Now, other blockchains that are either similar size or a little bit smaller, there's often multiple events around the world. Like, you look at Ethereum, there's all sorts of different, like, there was LizCon recently, there's FCC in Paris, there was the one in Bogota as well. There's lots of different events all over the world, right? So given that Solana is a comparable sized ecosystem, how come there's just one for Solana? And also, I mentioned before, Solana, like, the Breakpoint in Lisbon, unfortunately, a lot of people couldn't attend. They couldn't get visas from wherever they live in the world, which sucks. So we thought that there must be a way to invigorate the ecosystem more, but also focus on a lot of the cool and emerging parts of the world. So a lot of what we're focused on at Step, a lot of our users are from emerging markets. So Turkey's the number two user base for Step. Then it goes like Thailand, Nigeria, I think it's like Japan, Vietnam, a whole bunch of other different cool places. So, there's a lot of non-English speaking places, which are quite large components to a lot of the Solana ecosystem. But unfortunately, many people couldn't attend Lisbon because of just visa situations. So we're like, okay, maybe we should get involved. Maybe we should just go and do it. And also, this kind of ties in with, if you're familiar before with Solana Floor, which is our recent acquisition, the NFT data analytics platform. Everyone go check it out, solanafloor.com. Solana Floor, essentially, a lot of that data will be coming across to Step in the not too distant future. So the plan with Solana Floor is to turn it more into a sort of a NFT media hub for a lot of what's going on, which doesn't currently exist on the Solana blockchain. So the data will still be there. That'll live on Step. But Solana Floor itself, the brand, all of the stuff that's been built up over the last year and a half, we're going to be focusing more on the community and the ecosystem. So one of the critical components for that was that, well, if we're going to be focusing on the community and the ecosystem, and we think that there's space for another event, why don't we make an event ourselves, right? So, um, you know, Istanbul, great city. It's always been a crossroad to the world. We could say it's always been a place that's been uh, on the path of the Silk Road as well, and yeah, for thousands of years, really. So, what's really cool is visa entry, very easy. Anyone can get here. Big crypto ecosystem. We're talking like, double digit percentages of the population have a crypto account. So tens of millions of people. You walk down the street anywhere, there's like OTC shops all over the place. So
Yeah.
for a location for a conference, I think it's absolutely ideal. And what we're doing is so the name of the conference, Solana Crossroads. We're going to be essentially running it with Step, but we're also going to be partnering with the rest of the ecosystem. A lot of We've spoken about DeFi world, but also a lot of the NFT world, and as well as local partners as well. We really want to engage the local Turkish ecosystem as well, developers on board as well, and we'll have like special sort of events and side things to do there. So that'll be coming up 31st of March next year. We'll be starting and it'll be ending on the 2nd of April. So we're super pumped for it. Things proceeding as planned. Unfortunately, FTX Turkey was like a key. Like when we made our press release, whatever it was 2 weeks ago, they were like one of our key sort of partners to be involved with it. Pretty sure that's not going to happen now. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, that's unfortunate. But hey, it's all good. There's a lot of other cool partners that we've been speaking to. So yeah, super excited to get into it.
Yeah, and one would argue that Breakpoint happened right before everything went down, right? The reputation of FTX and all that, and the crowd might not be there anymore. Argument, but as the team that actually has a good pulse of people who are potentially interested in joining us at the Solana Crossroads, we have people reaching out. They're buying tickets. They are asking to be involved through sponsorships or any other avenue. So that is a great point. And a lot of people are saying, I'm glad it's happening in Turkey, in Istanbul, because they could not make it at Lisbon because of visa situation. So yeah, it is very encouraging for a lot of people and more convenient.
Yeah, we're learning from a lot of the lessons of other crypto conferences as well. Like, for example, tickets are available paid in crypto day one. Right now,
Mm-hmm.
you can go and spend USDC and you can buy a ticket, right? That was not the case with Breakpoint, and that caused us. So we had 16 people going to Breakpoint conference, right? They didn't have crypto payments, and you had to use credit cards. And it was just such a nightmare. It turned out that like some of the tickets weren't available, and then we had to refund to individual people's credit cards, and then they had to go and buy another ticket again because it was a dev ticket and it was a discounted one, but they bought the full ticket before because they didn't have it ready. Like all of this just silly stuff which doesn't need to exist. So that's one good example, right?
Yeah.
We've also been taking notes at what do people want to do at a conference as well? Often it's to network and meet people. So I think there needs to be ample occasion to do that as well. So yeah, look, there's going to be a lot of really cool things happening there. So we're really excited for it. And yeah, the argument of because the world's blown up, so it's different now. I don't think so. Like a lot of the thousands of people that we saw at Breakpoint, like yes, everyone's taken a hit, but everyone's still there. They're still doing their thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, as far as we're concerned, the crypto ecosystems is fine. It's taken a hit. It sucks, but the people who've probably taken the most hit are a lot of big funds and VCs and stuff like that. And we've already seen people coming out like Genesis took a big hit. BlockFi seems like it's probably insolvent as well. They're going to be the big hits that are taken. But I think luckily a lot of the smaller, more nimbler teams, they're still going to be there. So yeah, so positive things all around. And look, I hope the situation gets better for everyone as well, of course. But yeah, I think crypto ecosystem, middle of a bear market. It was the biggest conference we ever saw for Solana ecosystem, if not any other ecosystem. So yeah, I think it's all systems go towards Crossroads. It's going to be great.
Yeah, and I would like to give a shout out to our wonderful partners, Aten, for allowing us to use their platform to sell tickets. currently we do have early bird tickets, guys. If anyone of you interested, you can find that. We'll probably post the link somewhere that you can access soon.
100%.
All right. Yeah, this is very exciting. As you know, this excites me the most. All right, let's talk about what's going on within Step now. Interested to hear about Step's on-chain referrals that launched at the end of last month. Can you tell us how that's going?
Yeah, so referrals is pretty cool. We've been working on it for a while. Essentially, the idea, and it was really sort of designed, I guess, more for influencers, but anyone can use it. Anyone can set up a referral account. So you can go onto Step, and you can essentially give people a referral link, and anytime anyone swaps on Step, using your link, once you give it to them, they have to sign in with their wallet and approve a transaction, basically, to prove that they're someone who's one of your referees. But you can earn money from your followers, essentially. So that's what all referral links are based on, right? And a lot of very successful referral programs are out there, often, unfortunately, by centralized exchanges. But I think that's something that's kind of missing in the DeFi world, especially on chain. And doing all of that on chain is often quite difficult to do. So anytime anyone swaps, you'll get a rebate if one of your referees is swapping, and you'll be able to earn that in Step as well. So that's the really cool thing about referrals. And yeah, we're excited to get it up and running. We're talking to, at the moment, like some individual influencers, which I think it makes the most sense for, and just sort of see what we can do from there, and expose more people to Step and Solana ecosystem and all the cool stuff that's going on. That's the main thing. It's really just sort of like an additional customer acquisition tool that is can grow exponentially. So yeah, referrals, everyone go check it out. I think the link is, I don't know if it's like app.step.finance/referrals. It might be something like that. But anyway, just go into the dashboard and you'll see it.
We'll make sure to tweet about it and post it on our Discord to make sure that everyone has access to it. All right, maybe if you can touch on the data analytics platform, that's how's that coming along, and maybe if you have any updates or teasers for us.
Yeah, totally. So look, I think last time we spoke, it was our intention to try and get things out before the end of the year. We're still going as fast as we can to get everything going. Right now, I'm looking at our board. There's like 5 tasks or something that are underway right now, which are quite big to do with analytics. So lots of different things going on. Look, we don't have an ETA just yet, unfortunately, but it's going ahead as fast as we can. So look, every 2 weeks we have a sprint planning session where essentially we are determining what we work on for the next 2 weeks, and analytics is always top of the queue. So yeah, analytics is getting that out as the separate app is our number one priority, and we can't wait to bring it to the world.
That's great. Okay, so let's wrap this up, George. Maybe we can talk about what's ahead. If we look forward for Step, maybe short distance like this year, towards the end of the year, and maybe in 2023.
Yeah, absolutely. So end of this year, definitely the analytics app is the core sort of focus for us, and making as much progress as we can with that, and being able to get out an MVP as soon as possible with something that's actually useful and insightful for people. And I think what people will see once it's out is that it'll get developed on and built on, just like Step has been when we first started as well. Because when we first started, we had new things launching every week, really. There was new farms for us to put onto the dashboard. There was new dexes launching. There was new like staking whatevers. So pretty much every couple of days there was a new deployment from Step, with supporting some sort of new thing, right? So that's sort of what we want to aim for as well. Once we're out with our MVP, is we want to have continuous updates, along the lines of being able to expose more on-chain data in a more sort of interesting and insightful way. So yeah, look, that's what we're going for. So that's this year. And next year, well, we've spoken about Crossroads as well. And for us as well as a team, we also have some interesting roles right now going out with graphic designers as well. So I guess we can talk a little bit about that. So I mentioned before solanafloor.com as the more of a media hub for a lot of what's going on with the NFT world on Solana. And a critical component for that is going to be news articles and articles that are relevant to what's going on in that ecosystem. So step is going to, through solanafloor.com, being able to provide a lot of that content. And we're looking for really talented graphic designers to help us with that, essentially. So if you're familiar with maybe Cointelegraph and how they grew, they have some really cool, unique art for all of their articles. That's kind of the vibe that we're going for. And yeah, we want to make it a reality for a lot of the Web3 stuff, because I don't think anyone, like, nobody really does that. There isn't really one place to go which has all the information. A lot of the time, people get information from the NFT world just from like the marketplace itself, you know, or it's a Discord, or it's like their own particular Discord. So there's not really like a neutral source of truth across every different marketplace and venues. So, you know, I think that there is a spot in the market for that. And yeah, you know, that's what we're going for. So looking for people to be on board with that. And if anyone knows any talented graphic designers, just slide into my DMs, let me know, and we'll have a chat. So yeah, there's that. And yeah, I can't think of what else we got going on. But yeah, there's always a lot going on. But look, there are a lot of the main things that we're really focused on. Also with crypto, like, who even knows what's going to happen in 6 months' time? I mean, you know, the world could be blowing up again. It could be great, and everything's sunshine and flying cars. So I don't know. But yeah, for us, like, we need to keep building stuff.
Flying cars in 6 months? That's not a bad thing to have, I guess.
Yeah, maybe in the metaverse though, unfortunately.
That's right. Well, as always, it's a pleasure hosting you. Thank you for your time. And thanks everyone for joining us today. Make sure, if you haven't already, to join our Discord and follow us on Twitter. And if you have any questions about Step or Solana Floor or Solana Crossroads, definitely come join us in our Discord. We'll be there.
100%. Yep. Thanks for hosting today, Thep. And yeah, if anyone wants to get in touch, as you said, come join us in the Discord, and have a great rest of the day and a good weekend for everyone out there.
Cheers, everyone.
See ya. Bye.